Good evening, good evening. We are a chatty group this evening. Very, very friendly. Sorry to interrupt the social hour, but at any rate, thank you for being here this evening for our regular meeting of the 77th Monrovia City Council this Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. And I'm going to call this meeting at, of course, I don't have my cell phone here. What time is it? 7:33. And we are going to start off with our invocation by Barbara Golar, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Edward Belden.
Good morning. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Been a long day, okay? I got up, it was dark, and it's dark now, so. Anyway, good evening, Mayor Shevlin and City Council members. So, it started. Oh my God, verily thou didst perceive those who are present here turning unto thee, relying upon thee. O my Lord, illumine their eyes by the light of love, and enkindle their hearts by the rays streaming from the heaven of the supreme concourse. Suffer them to become the signs of thy bestowal amongst the people, and the standards of thy grace amongst mankind. O Lord, make those who are here the host of heaven, and through their service and instrumentally subdue the hearts of humanity. Cause thy great mercy to descend upon them, and render all thy friends victorious. Direct them that they may turn toward thy kingdom of mercy, and proclaim thy name amongst the people. May they lead the people to the bounty of thy most great guidance. O Lord, cast the glance of thy mercy upon them all. O Lord, ordain for them the beauty of thy holiness in thy kingdom of eternity. O Lord, protect them in every test, from every foot firm in the pathway of thy love, and help them to be as mighty mountains in thy cause, so that their faith shall not be wavered, their sights shall not be dim, nor hinder from witnessing the lights emanating from thy supreme kingdom. Verily, thou art the generous, thou art the almighty, verily, thou art the clement and the merciful.
Thank you, Barbara. And now we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Belden.
Please stand and face our flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, can we have roll call?
Council members Belden.
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Spicer.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly. And Mayor Shevlin.
Here. We did have a closed session, and I'll ask our city attorney, Mr. Steele, if you could report out for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Prior to the meeting this evening, the council met in closed session regarding the one item on the posted agenda, gave direction to staff, and took no reportable action.
Thank you very much. We also had a study session before this, and it was very good, and it was on the street vending ordinances, and so that was very interesting as well. Then on our presentations and proclamations, yay, the Pasadena Humane is back, and Kevin McManus has our pet of the... This is Theo.
Hey, Leo.
And maybe if you could give us a little info on Theo and then a little update on what's
Sure.
going on at Pasadena Humane.
Yeah, well, Theo's a 9-year-old pit bull. As you can see, very, very sweet. His family tragically lost their home in the fire. So Theo and his brother were ultimately surrendered to us at the shelter. The family just couldn't find a place that would allow them to have 2 pit bulls. But he is probably the most friendly, outgoing dog, 9 years old, which to me is the perfect age because he's, obviously well trained, super sweet, and just going to be like a great dog for someone hopefully really, really soon. We've been very, very busy at the shelter, as you may have heard. We still are caring for about 150 pets of people who have lost their homes. So if people are looking to support us, we have a new category of foster families who are specifically fostering animals who have been affected by the fire. We're calling them disaster caretakers. And that, normally with our foster homes, the intent is to get the animal ready for adoption. The intent of these folks is to just hang on to people's pets until those families can come back and reclaim them. So if you have room in your home for a dog for, unfortunately at this point, an indefinite amount of time, we are welcoming those folks in to help us out. The needs that our community has seen because of the consequences of the fire have been pretty stark. So we're still accepting any kind of donation, whether it be monetary or in-kind donations. Our pet food pantry, which is a program that we run year-round over the last 2 months, has been really in dire need. And we've given out 120,000 pounds of food since the fire started, which is, I think about what we normally did in the entirety of last year. So the needs are definitely out there, and we're trying to care for all the animals in the community. So if people can help, we welcome that. Having said that, we're having a very fun event just in a couple weeks, our Wiggle Waggle Walk and Run, where we're really trying to not focus on the fire, but talk about community and talk about rebuilding. And it is normally our biggest fundraiser, but we really just want people to come out. So no fundraising needed. If you're free on Sunday, April 6th, please come out to the Rose Bowl, Brookside Park. It's going to be a really fun day. We've got a lot of new things this year because Julie, who's our special events coordinator, has a lot of great new ideas. So we're looking for a fun day to just come out and celebrate. So if you're free that day, please come out.
Okay, we'll come down and get a picture with Theo.
Sounds good.
Nice to have the Pasadena Humane and the pets back, but it is very sad that the situation that many families are in, having to give up their pets after having lost their homes as well. Okay, we are moving on to PR2, proclaiming March 29th, 2025 as Vietnam War Veterans Day. And I'm going to, Mr. Spicer, as our resident veteran here, he is going to accept this proclamation, and so I'm going to read it, and we will be presenting it to him. Whereas it is an honor to recognize the many veterans who made countless sacrifices for Monrovia families, and whereas more than 58,000 of service members made the ultimate sacrifice during the Vietnam War, thousands more were wounded, and 1,600 remain missing in action. And whereas since their return, these veterans have contributed tremendously to their communities, their states, and the nation. And whereas as citizens of the great city of Monrovia, we must never forget the pain and suffering that lingers today for the men and women who fought with honor and distinction in the name of freedom and democracy for all. And whereas we can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to those brave men and women who served, were wounded, or died in battle, and whereas Vietnam War Veterans Day presents the opportunity for people of Monrovia to honor and thank our Vietnam veterans for their service to our country. Now, therefore, I, Becky Shevlin, Mayor of the City of Monrovia, California, along with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim March 29th as National Vietnam War Veterans Day in Monrovia and urge the community to show our Vietnam veterans, their families, and all of the men and women who have served our country the fullest respect and support of a grateful state and nation, dated this 18th day of March 2025. And so, thank you, veterans. And Larry, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, on behalf of my brothers over at the VFW, the American Legion, I just want to thank the city of Monrovia for all the give-backs that they give our soldiers, whether it's the cookout in the park, all the work that the library does, and just the city as a whole. I just want to thank all of you for just showing us love. Thank you.
And also, yes, clap. Also, our Vietnam War Memorial that's over at Library Park. Remember, you can visit that, especially any day, but especially on the 29th. And so, Larry, we got to have a picture.
Do I get a photograph?
Yeah. Do we have any Vietnam veterans in the audience?
Come on up.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we can thank our library enough. They do so much to outreach to our veterans. Okay, then we have PR3, which is recognition of Monrovia Parks Wilderness and Recreation Foundation, and I have asked Edward Belden, Councilmember Belden, to present this certificate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certificate of appreciation goes out from the City of Monrovia to the Monrovia Parks Wilderness and Recreation Foundation for your invaluable contributions and dedicated support through scholarships for youth recreation programs, financial support towards playgrounds and open space improvements, as well as the hosting of many recreational activities, community service days, and ongoing advocacy for Monrovia Parks programs. We appreciate your efforts toward making this community a premier place to live for generations to come. Did you want to?
And it's signed by all of us. And I know we've got a few members here. You want to come on up and say a few words? And
All right. I'd like to thank City Council for recognizing us today. We have a wonderful partnership with the city. Basically, our foundation, as Councilmember Belden described, everything we do is basically to help and promote parks, wilderness, and recreation in the city. So one of the best projects we had was working with the city and being a significant contributor, $70,000 toward the new shade structures in Library Park. So as you keep watching this year, we've got probably another 40, 50,000 committed to various projects that are around interpretive signs in all the various parks. Can't wait to continue to work with the city and bring these projects to fruition. And these projects are all possible because of the money of the generous people of Monrovia and our donors. So thank you so much for everything that you've contributed us. I hope you see it and work with our collaboration with the city. And if you want to stay in tune with what we're doing, whether donating or coming to our yoga in the park and all the great events, I encourage you to go to monroviapwr.org. That's our website, and sign up for our newsletter so you'll never miss anything, like our Panda Express fundraiser tomorrow. So if you get at Panda Express between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. and bring the flyer that our city manager put into his newsletter, thank you so much. Also, it's on our website. Or if you order online, there's a code that's in there that I won't try to remember, and we'll get 20%. And so thanks to our fantastic board, we've been doing one of these just about every month. So sign up to our newsletter, you'll stay in the loop, and thanks again for giving us a chance here.
And that's the Panda Express on
Huntington.
Huntington.
Yeah, Huntington Oaks.
Yes, and we'll come on down and get a picture.
Right, excellent, thank you.
We have a lot of presentations this evening, great things happening in Monrovia. So moving right along, we have our recognition of a community emergency response team, CERT volunteers, and I have asked, that's you, Tamla.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, I need my glasses.
And anyone that is here on behalf of the CERT members, you can come up. I know, Susie, are you going to do both items? Jeremy. all the CERT volunteers. Not the graduates, the volunteers. Wow, wow, wow.
It's a lot of volunteers.
If they're smiling, you know there's CERT.
I feel safe. You guys, we got the fire chief, we got all the volunteers. And Larry, go on down. You're a volunteer. I'm going to get a photograph. Okay.
And you all have such wonderful smiles. In appreciation of your outstanding support to Monrovia Fire and Rescue and the Monrovia Police Department through patrols in the very high fire severity zone, serving in the Emergency Operations Center, making welfare checks, and providing assistance to residents, as well as donating more volunteer hours at the Pasadena Disaster Recovery Center than any CERT in the area. The City of Monrovia applauds your exemplary efforts to help our community and those near us to remain well cared for and safe, not just in the recent wind and fire events, but each and every day. Dated this 18th day of March, 2025.
All right.
All right.
Is there, Jeremy, anyone want to speak on behalf of CERT?
I think I'm gonna handle that part, and
Okay.
then Susie will come in after because we have a busy schedule for Susie already.
Okay.
So, first off, I want to thank you, Mayor Shevlin, and the council members for recognizing our CERT team today. 2007, I believe, we embarked on this journey of getting a CERT team together. Never did we imagine that we would have so much success of our team. Over the last, many years, we've built a team of 49 strong now. We reach out to our CERT members for many, many emergencies day to day, whether that is traffic control, whether it's wires down. And then obviously in the recent events of the windstorms and the Eaton fire, our CERT team rose to the occasion once again. During that event, they were on standby from the start of that windstorm, knowing that there could be a need. And then immediately when we realized there was a need, they were there to respond. And it's really a testament to our team members, to our community, that they're always there, because I can't tell you how many times we reach out and Susie, where are you at? We reach out and Susie gets on the phone. I'm sure many members here are always available and doing the best for our community. So thank you all very much for making our team a success, and thank you very much, council, for recognizing.
And we'll come down and get a picture. Got to get Larry in there for that photo op.
And that's the advice you gave me.
Get in there, get in there.
Find your windows. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, then we've got recognition of Community Emergency Response Team CERT, the graduates. And we have Susie Dobson here, our Emergency Preparedness Coordinator, and she'll be presenting the graduates.
Good evening, Mayor Shevlin and council members. Tonight, we are recognizing the graduates of our 2025 CERT training. With the guidance of our volunteer training cadre, these Monrovia residents have put in 24 hours of training in preparedness, search and rescue, disaster medical, fire suppression, disaster psychology, and much more. This class is the largest class we've had since 2020, and we had 30 residents register for the class.
Wow.
Whether these graduates choose to join the team or not, they add to our city's resiliency in a disaster by being self-sufficient and being able to assist their neighbors. To date, Monrovia Fire and Rescue has trained over 250 residents in basic CERT skills, and the number of team members is increasing because several members of this class have already applied to join our city team, and I expect many more will. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity for recognizing these graduates. Come on down, everybody.
That's amazing. Woo! It's amazing.
Do you want us to come down for a photo?
Oh, we don't have to. How long is the class?
It's several weekends. Thank you so very much for everyone that took the time to participate in that training. It really is a dedication. So thank you very much. Moving on then to PR5, proclaiming March 2025 as Red Cross Month. And Susie Dobson is going to be receiving this proclamation, but I've asked Councilmember Sergio Jimenez to please read the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the American Red Cross is a special time to honor, whereas the American Red Cross Month is a special time to honor the kindness of our neighbors who aid families in need every day in Monrovia and across the United States and around the world. Their dedication touches millions of lives each year as they carry out the organization's 140-year mission of preventing and alleviating suffering. And whereas in the greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, the contributions of local Red Cross volunteers give hope to the most vulnerable in their darkest hours. And whereas in Monrovia, families have relied on disaster response volunteers for comfort and care while coping with home fires, floods, and many other disasters. And whereas the Western Los Angeles chapter volunteers have supported local families in other ways too, including supplying local hospitals with blood and convalescent plasma as a treatment for COVID-19. This life-saving work is vital to strengthening our community's resilience. And whereas over 200 years since the birth of the American Red Cross, founder Clara Barton, we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy through their incredible work to prepare, respond, and recover. We ask others to join in their commitment to care for people in need. Now, therefore, Becky Shevlin, Mayor of the City of Monrovia, California, along with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as American Red Cross Month and encourage all Monrovians to support this organization and its noble humanitarian mission, dated this 18th day of March 2025. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Susie, did you want to say a few words?
I'll just say a few things. Over the years, the American Red Cross has been our partner in disaster response, whether that disaster is personal, as in the case of a house fire, or a large one like the Bobcat fire several years ago. This year, proclaiming March as Red Cross Month, a special meaning in light of the devastating Eaton and Palisades fires. The Red Cross has been a key source of support for fire survivors, and to date has distributed $56 million of the $130 million they have raised for wildfire relief. Since January 1st of this year, they have provided more than 154,000 meals and snacks, more than 18,000 overnight shelter and hotel stays, relief items for more than 21,000 households, and relief and recovery services for more than 87,000 people. These services include immediate financial assistance for severely affected families, food, relief items, health and mental health services, essential personal protective equipment to help survivors remain safe as they go back to salvage what they can so they're not exposed to the smoke and ash. So this year, the Red Cross already in 2 months has done much more for our local community, even though maybe not Monrovia specific, than we've seen recently. So thank you very much on behalf of the Red Cross.
All right, we'll come down and we'll get a photo with you. Oh, yeah. All right, thank you very much. Like I said, lots of exciting things going on and lots of great people participating in our programs, which makes Monrovia all that more special. That brings into our presentations and proclamations. We are moving on then to our student government representative report, and we have our school liaison, Jasmine Rodriguez. Jasmine.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Shevlin, members of the council, and members of the community. To start off, our Jostens Renaissance Conference was a huge success. Us leadership students were able to grasp new concepts on how to improve our campus. Prom season is officially here. Our prom is Saturday, April 26th, and our theme is Great Gatsby. Next Friday, ASB hosts our student body for our spring rally. Our theme this year is SpongeBob, and we are so excited. We have been working on posters for the last month, and they look amazing. Lastly, next Thursday, the Wildcats will be hosting our annual MEOs for our elementary schools. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And as usual, you're more than welcome to stay for as much of the meeting as you can. Then moving right along, order of business, I don't believe we have any changes to our order of business, correct? So then we'll move on to our consent calendar. All items on our consent calendar are considered routine in nature and can be enacted in one motion unless there's anything anyone needs to pull or question. Not seeing any. Do we have a motion to approve items CC1 through CC12 of our consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve CC1 through CC12.
Do we have
Second.
we have a motion and a second? Then without further discussion or objection, then so approved. Moving on then to public input. This is the time that we thank you for coming to our meeting. This is the time that you can come and address the city council on any item not on the agenda. And please just, do we have any cards at this time? If you hadn't already filled out a card, you can fill out a card or come up to the podium and provide comments on, again, items not on the agenda. We do provide time for input, though, on all the agenda items, and so you can also give public comment on those. And you need to fill out a card and let us know that you want to speak. So with that, on our public input, what do we have?
I'll start by mentioning that we do have one person online.
Okay.
And so if they want to speak during this time, they can just raise their hand, and when we're done with the in-person
Okay.
cards, we'll move over to
Thanks.
that. Starting with Edie Ramirez.
Oh.
Which item do you? All right. We'll go with Karen DeClue then.
Hi, Karen.
Good evening, Mr. Feek, Mayor Shevlin, and City Council members. My name is Karen DeClue, and I've lived in Monrovia most of my life, and I'm raising 3 children here. My husband and I have poured a lot into building our home and our community here, and I plan to live in Monrovia for a long time still. I'm here tonight again to advocate for aquatics in Monrovia. I grew up knowing our Monrovia Pool as a place where community gathers, a place of learning, a place to engage teenagers, and where grandparents and grandchildren alike could cool off and stay active during the summer. I want to see Monrovia with an aquatics program that serves residents and students of all ages. I imagine a place that fosters unity and lifelong engagement. I imagine a program that creates full circle moments where involvement benefits both the city and the schools, amplifying the advantages for both. I imagine a young child learning to swim in Monrovia's pool and then later spending summer days playing there with her friends. I imagine her family attending fun city aquatic programming on the weekends. And then maybe one summer she tries the camp that the high school water polo program puts on as a fundraiser. She likes it, and she joins our private club that generates revenue. This revenue is dutifully set aside for a maintenance fund. While competing in our private club, she gets pretty good and eventually joins the MHS aquatics teams, contributing to the successes of her high school those 4 years. Throughout college, she comes home during the summers to teach the swimming lessons that once taught her. As life gets busier, she puts exercise in the back seat for a while, but not that long. Eventually, she starts to get active again, but promptly realizes she's getting older when she sprains her knee. This isn't a story about me, but I may have taken some inspiration from my own experiences. As she recovers from surgery, she remembers the power she felt when swimming laps and knows that swimming is there even when you're injured. She starts to show up to Adult Swim regularly, even as her kids make their own mark on MHS athletics and move out on their own. One day she takes her grandkids for swimming lessons at the pool. And the lessons are being taught by people she knows, her neighbors' kids. She stays active in aqua aerobics programs, seeing the same faces there every Monday and Wednesday, and she's finally convinced her husband to join her. A pool is an equal opportunity facility, serving the young and the old through their entire lifespans, through disability, through surgery recovery, for differently abled people, for men and women. What other facility do we have that can truly offer such high levels of benefits to so many different populations? I'm asking you tonight to continue to be proactive in bringing an updated aquatic center to Monrovia. I'm asking you to work proactively with our school district so we can have a joint use aquatic center that will serve residents and students alike. I hope to hear about a joint City Council MUSD meeting regarding this issue, and I hope our perspectives will show you why this is important for the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Randall, I'm going to leave it at that.
Hi, Randall.
Good evening. My name is Randy Jukes, and I grew up at the corner of Scenic and Alta Vista, and my time at the pool was varied as I went through. So like many of us that grew up here with the Stage 3 smog alert days and before leaded gasoline was outlawed, I started swimming at the pool in order to deal with my asthma. So you can say that being at the pool initially helped me learn to breathe. Then as a student at MHS, I joined the swim team, and it was really so if you want something done, give it to somebody who's busy. I think that in addition to the swimming, if having that engagement and having that opportunity as a student there was invaluable. It taught me to learn and taught me to win, and sometimes taught me to lose. And then the shirt I'm wearing is from my first job at the pool. So this was in '98. I was a cashier. They hired me at 15. So I think I made $5.80 an hour, and this was the first job I had. And then it led to even through college, it was the summers, was doing being the swim instructor, a little bit what Karen alluded to. So not only made me learn to work, but it also learned about my community. And I'll get into that again. Now, before you get worried, I did not meet my wife at the pool, so you're not going to have to hear me here learning to love. But I will say that as my job at the pool, you could always count from 1 to 4 and they were open Saturdays too. Those were always the pool rats, the kids that showed up. And boy, some of them were jerks. It was this just sounds like a weird way to advocate for the pool. But that they were the kids that were dropped off and just left there, it was 25 cents for residents, there's the time at the pool. Go. You didn't know what they were doing between 1 and 4, but between 1 and 4, they were our problem. They were there. But they were the best swimmers of any of them. Any of the pool lessons, you do this, that we got it was the consistency. They were there all the time. And when you're underwater, it's just you in your mind. You're underwater, you're gliding, you're free. Everybody can learn. She talked about being egalitarian. It actually was the thing and I felt like those kids had as much opportunity as being there. And so as much as it was a pain to deal with it as an employee, I think in hindsight, it was such a critical part of our community. That is why I'm here today. Why Karen asked her friends, thought of folks that could sort of speak to their experiences and share what they have. And I know that I don't like to. It's not Measure K money. It's Measure K opportunities. It's these types of things that, and I'm for me, I'm definitely aware the costs are not whatever the cost will be up front. There's insurance. There's costs like that. There are ways to figure it out. But I do have 3 kids that I'm aware of, and they're all in the Monrovia School District, grades 7th, 3rd, and kindergarten. And so my son is going to come to MHS soon, and we talk about how much these costs and how much tough decisions we have to make with the money we have, and especially the responsibility we have to spend that responsibly. So there's those costs that we talked about with the pool. But when I think of the costs of my kids in the city I love, that's my city, not having what I have, those costs echo through the ages. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the council, and good evening.
Thank you.
Next is Normarie Wayburn. Whew.
Good evening, council. And I've only lived here since '85. I learned to swim in Pasadena. Anyway, it's come to my attention that there's a possibility of the city and the schools working together, having some sort of funding to make this pool a public pool. And I'm just here as one of several that I know of as a lap swimmer, where I'm swimming in Edwardian, I'm swimming at the Y, that if there's a will, there's a way, and I'm hoping that there is, that we can make this pool a public pool for all of our citizens. As an all-America city for the second time, I'm really thinking, how did we do that without a pool? But then I've heard stories of how that happened. So whatever. I am just one of many, you know, they do the numbers, like if one person shows up, I'm representing 100 or something. So I just am here to say that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have no other speaker cards, and so far, the person online, if you want to speak, please click to raise your hand. Want to ask for anybody?
Anyone else wanting to make public comment on items not on, an item not on our agenda? Not seeing any then, I will close that portion of our meeting, and then we will move on then to reports of city manager and staff. Mr. Feek.
Thank you, Becky. A couple updates that you'll find on your directives log will be addressed later tonight in the meeting, particularly reviewing campaign contribution limits. There's a few others that we're continuing to make progress on as well. I did want to take this opportunity to share a few just important updates with the City Council and the public. First, the city has prepared all the necessary documents for the Anderson House transition. So at your Tuesday, April 1st meeting, we will bring those documents to City Council. They've already been reviewed and approved by the Historical Society, and that will be the official night where you'll take action on receiving the Anderson House, which will then become property of the city through a donation by the Historic Society. Earlier this evening, it's sometimes hard when you're speaking in front of a large group of people in City Council. I know Fire Chief Jeremy Sanchez had asked that he wanted to mention this earlier, and I said I could do it during my update. If Council recalls, several months ago, the Council awarded a series of 3 $5,000 grants to some of our volunteer organizations. I'm happy to share that through some of the funds from one of these grants, 2 of our fire explorers have been accepted into the U.S. Forest Service Explorer Wildland Academy, which is a pretty big deal. It's a very competitive program. Over a series of about a month, they'll receive 120 hours of wildland urban interface training. They'll learn about prescribed fire management, firefighting techniques. Certainly, we're hopeful that this is going to help them in their careers, pursuit of the fire service. We hope that that will be here in Monrovia. It also should be noted where Monrovia, we do not have very many female firefighters. Both of our explorers are also females. And so we're very excited that they'll be able to represent Monrovia. Perhaps a little bit more exciting, and I don't want to share any pictures because next week's update is going to include specific information. I'm very happy to share that yesterday during the significant rain that we had in the afternoon, I was driving up in Canyon Park and watching as they were unloading all of the paving equipment, which will be the final paving efforts for Canyon Park. Over the course of the last week, Poker Jack Corporation, with the help of Merrill Johnson, our contract engineer, have been working feverishly to perform a lot of these tasks that are really done past that 95% completion rate. Everything from the new guardrails, handrails, all of the hydrants are in. They've installed pedestals where when Edison finally brings power off of the lines, they'll tie right into the pedestals and the buildings, which are now pumping water and sewer throughout the park. They completed all of the debris hauling operations for the city, where we're taking any remaining material out of the park. One of my favorite construction outcomes is that we decided early on we did not want to create a disaster site somewhere off-site. We worked very, very hard to repurpose soil, boulders, fallen trees within the park. So it's been, form graded into the riverbeds to make it feels natural. We've taken the fallen trees and buried them in the hillsides to provide nutrients for the soils and vegetation. The biologists have collected seeds throughout Canyon Park so that we know what kind of exact plants we need to replicate and germinate up in a small little nursery we have up at the dam keeper's house. But so far, the only material we've really had to remove out of the park has been this material from this last weekend, and it only took us a couple days to do. Everything else, we've tried to keep it there so that we're not creating a disaster offsite. It definitely has confused FEMA and the state of California during disaster reimbursement. It's pretty typical. You haul debris away and put it somewhere else. It's very hard for them to comprehend that we're just moving it around within the park, but while also rebuilding and restoring the park. Next week's update is going to include lots of photos and images of all the work that's being done. We also expect next Monday to hear from LA County regarding what's a final permit issuance for Edison to bring power from their power lines into our buildings. So that has been ultimately the holdup for the beginning of 2025 is Edison needs to install power to these new buildings. So we're very excited. We're getting very close. Once we get permit issuance from the county, Edison has told us it's between 3 to 4 weeks to complete their work. And one of the last things we want to do is put down that final 2 inches of asphalt pavement so that it's a fresh coat of asphalt in the park. But it's looking tremendous. Staff will be doing a lot of cleanup and maintenance, just preparing it for the public. The moment that we can anticipate a reopening date, we'll be reaching out to the public and ensuring that we do want to plan a couple fun celebrations. Certainly city council, there's a lot of, I'm going to call stakeholders, dignitaries, people who have really gone above and beyond to help bring this park back to the community. And certainly we want to have the largest celebration when we welcome the public back to the park here very soon. Should note, we're also planning our Fountain of the Falls event this year already. So we have a lot to look forward to as Canyon Park reopens. Eugene and the team have even put together some really cool swag that we want to give away as people come back into the park. That will be consistent with our theme of a welcome place this year. That concludes my directives update. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of Dylan? I just thought maybe you might want to mention another great thing that we do are the visits from the third grade classes, and that's starting up real soon here. And I just thought maybe give a little kudos to staff for putting this together, and it's such a neat program.
Absolutely. So just to make sure, I heard comments earlier about All America City. Just to remind the public listening at home, there were 3 key programs we presented on our case for why we're in All America City. One was Community Media The Foothills Partnership. One was our partnership with the school district. And the other one was our partnership with, we have, I just drew a blank, Yes Internship. It was Yes Internship, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah, KGM Yes Internship. So just some amazing programs that we do. What we're really excited about is our upcoming third grade program. We get a lot of requests for tours where teachers want to bring their kids over to City of Monrovia facilities. A couple of years back, some of our staff had this great idea of maybe we can coordinate and collaborate with the district and build this into their program-based learning curriculum to where every single third grader comes over to the city as part of their education. They learn about government, they learn how laws are made, they actually engage in some rulemaking at their schools, and then they get to come here to City Hall and learn how to vote. They learn about our different city operations. We always close out with a pizza party and make sure they're full as can be when they head back to school. But each year we bring in somewhere between 500 and 600 third grade students. In addition, a lot of parents come. They just have a wonderful field trip here at the city, and we make sure they climb on a lot of vehicles, get to ask a lot of questions, and have a good time. We have our first tour for the season coming up next Thursday. It will start at the community center, and we're really excited to begin. So it should be another good year.
Excited to see them, and that thing about voting, oh my goodness, they have so much fun with that. I'll be anxious to hear the items that they're going to vote on. Last time, I think it was police, or it was definitely fire equipment. I can't remember the other things, but it's going to be interesting. Thank you very much. Okay, then RCM2 Lemon Avenue Reservoir project, and this is the one that there was a request for public comment. Edie, do you want to give your public comment?
Good evening. In October 2024, Dylan addressed the city manager in a letter. Dylan addressed the city manager of Bradbury regarding the Lemon Reservoir project. For those who have not read the letter, I believe the following points are significant and should be brought to the public's attention. It's also important for the community to recognize that we have a city manager who is actively advocating on our behalf. So I'm going to just go by point. In my opinion, these are the important items. The use of categorical exemptions. According to CEQA guidelines, a categorical exemption cannot be applied when an activity is expected to have a significant environmental impact due to unusual circumstances. In his letter, Dylan asserted that demolition, removal, and backfilling of the reservoir constitutes an unusual circumstances, thereby challenging the applicability of this exemption. Number 2, traffic impacts. The project lacks a detailed traffic plan, staging plan, and street sweeping schedule, despite relying on Monrovia's roadways. While the report indicates that truck trip scheduling was coordinated with the city engineer, the City of Monrovia, and the Monrovia School District, no formalized plan has been presented. In his letter, Dylan urged Bradbury to promptly incorporate feedback from the Monrovia Unified School District and the City of Monrovia to establish traffic plans, including staging, street sweeping, and truck hauling schedules. He also emphasized the importance of sharing this plan with residents in the surrounding area to ensure transparency and minimize disruptions. Regarding air quality, Dylan highlights multiple examples demonstrating why the City of Bradbury's statement and project summary are insufficient in determining whether the project air quality impacts on surrounding properties comply with regulations established by the South Coast Air Quality Management District, SCAQMD. He raises concerns that the analysis lacks the necessary depth to ensure regulatory compliance and protects nearby residents from potential air quality issues. Regarding communications, there appears to be a significant lack of communication, particularly with residents in the neighborhoods immediately surrounding the project. Before I go any further, I just want to, this is mainly for the public. I know everyone here has already read the letter, but what I'm stating here is Dylan's feedback to the project that he received from the city manager of Bradbury. So these are his rebuttals, and I'm just kind of putting in my own words his rebuttals. So anyway, so communications, there appears to be a significant lack of communication, particularly with the residents in the neighborhood immediately surrounding the project. While the City of Bradbury only requires a 500-foot notification, dozens of homes outside this range will be impacted by dust, noise, pollution, and construction traffic. Dylan emphasizes the need for broader outreach to ensure that all affected residents are properly informed and engaged in this process. Lastly, Dylan emphasizes that an environmental checklist must be completed to determine the appropriate level of environmental review in accordance with CEQA. He outlines key issues of particular importance to the city of Monrovia and reiterates that Monrovia was not given any prior communication regarding the project. This lack of transparency raises concerns about the project's potential environmental impacts and the needs for proper review and collaboration. As I mentioned in the beginning, I am bringing this to your attention to highlight the situation with the city of Bradbury, and more importantly, to recognize how our city manager is handling it and actively advocating on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Feek.
Yes, thank you for the kind words, Edie. I want to certainly share some credit. One of the things that I always appreciate is, our council. You've made it very important for the council, for staff, that we're here to serve this community. We try to be very accessible to concerns of residents, or what we like to refer to as stakeholders, people who are vested in the community. And so when we hear concerns here, even though they're happening in Bradbury, they are going to impact Monrovia. I think what I want to make sure any member hears tonight is what is something we want to be careful and cautious about is, when one city has a different opinion than another city or has a different approach to doing things, we really, we have to discuss these things publicly. And what we really want to try to work through is from the general consensus of the city council. I want to be able to have direction where I can go sit with my counterpart at the city of Bradbury and see if we can minimize the impacts of this project. It is their project. They are the responsible agency. We do have considerable concerns about it, but we really want it to be done in a respectful, sensible way where we're trying to work to what works for everybody.
And thank you for representing our concerns, because the entire city council has had concern about several of the things that the city of Bradbury has done. But thank you for pursuing this.
You're most welcome. As I go through some slides, I think this is going to help anyone who's watching or listening understand a little bit more detail. So link here found in the presentation slides. You can go on the city's website and learn all you want to learn about what's called the Lemon Avenue Retirement Project. This is a project that is, the project applicant is California American Water. This is related to their reservoir at 1271 Lemon Avenue. They have two reservoirs there. One is a large steel tower structure like our reservoirs. Another is an open concrete lined reservoir that is determined to be beyond its useful life. They have not been using this. It does become a place where pests are harbored, where standing water leads to mosquitoes and other types of vector control issues. And Cal American does want to retire the reservoir. If you drive over on East Lemon, you can see this large site. I'll show you a few other elevations, but you can see the tower with the red mark on it. The tower will remain. And what looks like a large dirt spot is actually a very large concrete structure that's approximately 8 to 12 feet deep. So it's a pretty sizable structure. Everything to the north of Lemon Avenue that you see here is City of Bradbury. All the single-family residential homes to the south are City of Monrovia. I would highlight that everything you see on this section of Bradbury is also part of Bradbury Estates, which is a portion of their community, which is a gated community. When you're looking kind of east, this says looking towards the northwest. I apologize. It's actually looking towards the northeast. Here's from standing at the curb at Lemon Avenue, looking north towards, you can see a big rock wall, some plants, and then you can see a tall wrought iron fence which stands high up above. The reservoir actually dips down below the grade of the street, so it's a pretty deep reservoir. Again, my apologies. I did the slides here, so I hope you'll find confidence in the errors that I post up here. We're actually looking west. You can see the structure to the north that will stay. Part of their proposed project actually includes reserving a little bit of land, which the existing concrete structure currently sits on. They would do some kind of lot line adjustment prior to whatever the final disposition of the parcel is. Here's a general project overview. They expect to export over 2,190 tons of demolition debris. They are going to import 12,000 cubic yards of backfill and grading. This will result in over 25 trucks a day for well over 9 months straight. The truck route is designated as the 210 freeway, north on Mountain, east on Lemon. Crosses right over one of our safe routes to schools, one of the, not only the pedestrian crosswalk areas, but a road that we've recently repaved. This is going to incur significant damage from all of this truck and demolition traffic. What's interesting on this project is it's also proposed to rezone the parcel to single-family residential and sell the lot once the project is complete. The existing rock wall, wrought iron fence would be removed. A new wrought iron fence would be installed, but it would change the grade as seen from street level. The first, Bradbury in their reports will speak about, they've been working on this project for 15 years. The first time the city of Monrovia was made aware of this project was on October 7th, 2024. Prior to a hearing at the city of Bradbury, residents reached out to us, and we were unaware of any project happening, nor had we received any communications on the matter. I submitted a letter of concern on October 15th. That was the letter that Mr. Ramirez had shared. That's also included as part of your packet. I would note that there are some other projects happening along the Monrovia-Bradbury border. Many are aware of the Bradbury Road Widening Project that's currently underway. There's a lot of talk during discussions here in Monrovia with the city of Bradbury about reviewing possible storm drainage improvements, which would help alleviate some issues that neighboring residents had shared and brought to Bradbury's attention. We were always of the impression that we would have a chance to partner with the city of Bradbury on these drainage improvements to ultimately improve the overall quality of drainage in the area for some of those residents that had been reporting a lot of runoff from Bradbury Estates. At this point, the project is proceeding without any storm drainage improvements. Also, we were told during that same effort that the Lemon Avenue entrance gate, which was part of the estates, was not under any consideration for use or construction for any foreseeable future time. We learned just a few weeks ago that they have started construction for the gate and are planning to use this for certain amounts of their traffic coming in. We have not been receiving regular updates from the city of Bradbury, and why that's important is because of all the Monrovia residents who live nearby are asking for information, and we're being caught off guard. Cal American and Bradbury have delayed public hearings. Those will eventually recommence. I won't go over the highlighted city concerns other than to say these are those 4 key areas that we shared with Bradbury. I have spoken with my counterpart in Bradbury. I've met multiple times with Cal American officials. They are willing to consider project alternatives. One of the first considerations they looked at was possibly a minimal demolition and more of like an open space preservation concept. I think what my ultimate goal would be is, I sent a letter from staff. I think sending a letter from the city council to their city council sends a much stronger message that we really want to consider other alternatives. If it's determined that this is the project that's going to proceed, I'll certainly come back to the city council here and we'll share that feedback from our meetings with Bradbury. If the project was proceeding, then I think all of those conditions in the letter are true. We would expect them to do much further environmental analysis. For example, they can't tell us right now if there's asbestos. They can't tell us what kind of materials are in the concrete, what will be the air quality impacts, because they essentially issued a categorical exemption from environmental review for all those items. There have been times in the past where residents who were observing some minor repairs to the water reservoir, the tank tower, where Cal American staff were walking around in what looked like white hazmat suits. And there's no communication to the Monrovia residents. And when they see people walking around a water site in those suits, it causes concern for residents. So this evening, what I'm asking council council support. I did draft a letter that's part of your packet. It really highlights and emphasizes those existing concerns that we've raised, and I would just like to submit that to the City of Bradbury on behalf of the Monrovia City Council. Here is my contact information, phone number, and always please subscribe to City Manager's Update if you're not already. But that's my report this evening.
Any questions of Mr. Feek? Well, thank you very much. And if I understand correctly, I'm not trying to speak out of turn, but isn't the motivation for this improvement or destruction or whatever you want to call it, that they would like to build housing there?
The project that says is a part of it is one of the end outcomes that they rezone the parcel into a single-family residential lot.
But it is owned by the water
It's
company.
currently owned by the water company. If they were to, demolish, the intent would be to sell the lot to someone who would then build a single-family residence on it.
I'm just curious, though, the water tank itself is actually being used, or is it empty?
The water tank is being used.
It is being used. Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing more on that, as well as pushing them on the drainage issue as well. They decided to have selective amnesia about that. Okay, thank you very much. Then we are moving on to our reports of city council members and subcommittees, and I will start this evening with Councilmember Sergio Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the pleasure of participating in the Read Across Monrovia program at one of our local schools. And I try to select books that are entertaining that the children can relate to, but if I can, I see it as a teaching opportunity to teach the kids a little bit more about Monrovia. In the past, I picked the story of why we have the bears all over Monrovia. Samson the bear, there's Samson the hot tub bear was the book. And this time, one of the two stories that I picked was The Man Who Loved Libraries. This is the story of Andrew Carnegie. And you might say, what's the connection to Monrovia? Well, I think, Dylan, do we have that image of the Carnegie Library? Okay. Andrew Carnegie was a very successful industrialist. He was also very generous. He actually paid to establish, out of his own pocket, 1,689 libraries, and one of the original Carnegie libraries was in our own library park. And you're looking at the image right there. When I did the reading to the kids, I actually asked the teachers to bring up that image. And there was a lot of oohs and ahs from the children, kind of that lost history. It makes you think, what if we still had that library in Library Park? That would have been the historic center of Monrovia with a genuine historic building in it. I want to thank Jim Wigton. In doing my research, I found out that Jim Wigton did a whole video, it's on YouTube, on the story of the libraries, and he gives great detail on how our library system came to be in Monrovia. For example, the first library that we had was rented for $2.50 from the Granite Bank Building. That was our first library, but our first freestanding library, you're looking at it right here, the Carnegie Library. So I had that opportunity to teach a little bit about Monrovia's fantastic history. History touches every aspect of life in Monrovia, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so I'm hoping that the kids learn that much more, what a special place they have here in Monrovia. I also had the opportunity of going to the Lario staging area. This is the site just east of the San Gabriel River, where the EPA established a transfer station for the Eaton Canyon fire debris. The EPA said that they were going to close it in 30 days, and to my pleasant surprise, they did. I made an appointment with the EPA last week, and I followed it up this morning, and everything has been removed except for 2 bins and about 6 or 7 pickup trucks. So I'm happy to report that all the material has been moved off-site. They have done testing. It's going to be made public on the soil to make sure we don't have any any contamination of the soil that could affect the water quality of the San Gabriel River. Air quality testing to protect the people that were working at the site as well as the immediate residents, and that's going to be made public. So I want to thank the EPA staff, including Amanda Quay, she's the EPA from the Liaison Office, Region 9, and Lauren Herschel, EPA Region 5, for their assistance in meeting me at the site. Very grateful to them, and yes, they kept their word. They were able to complete the work that they were going to be doing in 30 days or less. And I also wanted to share that I had the opportunity of going to the annual WELL conference. This is a program I went through. WELL stands for Wider Education for Latino Leaders. And it was, some of the subject matter dealt with the same issue of the Eaton Canyon fire, how it affects water quality, and the same issues of what the EPA was doing at the site to prevent water quality from being affected. A lot of people, they don't realize that the Eaton Canyon fire, it didn't just affect the people in Pasadena and in Altadena, it affects the whole area. If we have water contamination, it's throughout the whole region. So that's how important it is to everybody that the best tested methods to ensure that our water quality remains safe to drink. I also had the opportunity just yesterday, attended the San Gabriel Valley Public Affairs Network. Our own Congressman Gil Cisneros spoke, and the congressman spoke on what his priorities are, from some of the concerns, and they reflect the concerns of people right now at the federal level with what's going to happen with Medicare, Social Security, and being a veteran like Larry. He has lots of veterans that are very concerned about the veterans' health and benefits that they receive. That is kind of right now up in the air. He's also a strong advocate of national defense, being a veteran himself. So these are just some of the events that I had the opportunity of attending, Madam Mayor, and I thank you for allowing me to give this report.
Great. Thank you very much, Sergio. Mr. Belden.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just a few updates on the Clean Power Alliance. As having the pleasure to serve as the representative from the City of Monrovia, Clean Power Alliance, of course, is the organization that supplies our power. Unless you opted out and you're still just getting your power from Edison, you still get an Edison bill if you're part of CPA, but you see two charges. One's for power you purchase from CPA, and then the other is for actually the transmission costs, essentially, and those are the ones that are higher, usually on your bill. But CPA, they sent out one of their impact reports for the past year, 2024. They're now the second year in a row, the largest provider of green power in the nation. And just to summarize all the great work they're doing, you can see that in the 4 billion pounds of greenhouse gas emissions that they were able to avoid in 2024 itself. And they do give out community grants as well. And here in Monrovia, we actually received one. Center Stage received a small grant from the organization as one way to kind of give back to the community. And then just in case folks don't know, they do offer a few programs for customers, including one that's called Energy Team, where they can offer almost like assessments, evaluations in your own house, ways you can save energy, rebates you might be able to get to use, all great things. And then they also offer a sun storage rebate program where it's up to $750 for a battery backup installation. I'm actually not sure I think it is if it's paired with if you already have solar panels, essentially, or if you're going to get into solar panels, then this rebate would kick in and you can actually get a battery storage unit, which comes in handy during times of emergencies, especially. So that's it for me, and looking forward to the Canyon Park opening someday soon. Thanks.
Soon. The operative word is soon. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you very much. There is an event that's going on Friday, March the 21st It is going to be hosted by the Immigration Resource Center right here in our city. Friday, March the 21st, which is this Friday. It's Know Your Rights, training for immigrant allies in workplaces, schools, and churches. That's Friday, March the 21st. I also got an opportunity to attend Monrovia Community Garden annual Compost Palooza. It was all things compost. Wonderful workshops. Our community came out, and it was a beautiful event. So it was a blessing to be able to be a part of that and to see the community come out in that way. Another community event where the community came out once again, celebrating all things Monrovia and community and relationships, and that's what I really love about our city. Very relational. We're very others-minded, and I really enjoy that. This past Sunday was Chris Los hosted the M-Town Awards. Our very own Dylan Feek received an award this past Sunday. He was voted, what was your award again?
Oh, my goodness.
I know, it was
Most
wonderful.
awesome city manager.
Yeah, something.
Something like that.
Something like that. The people voted for that, and so it was a wonderful event. Concerning, I get an opportunity to be the MOTAB, Monrovia Old Town Advisory Board liaison. So a couple of things that was discussed today at our meeting. First, concerning the street fair. Staff will be bringing a report to City Council on April 1st related, in the April 1st meeting, related to Friday night street fair and the Station Square Farmers Market. However, today MOTAB received an update from Raw Inspirations on the Friday night street fair. As part of that presentation, we learned that Raw Inspiration lost the Altadena market due to the Eaton fire, and over 20 merchants lost their Friday night income. However, Raw Inspiration and staff worked together, our staff, and this is another part of making Monrovia being a welcoming city. They staffed worked together to bring 12 vendors from Altadena to Monrovia to support our neighbors and their businesses. So though they lost their business, their opportunity to be a part of the street fair in Altadena, we've invited those businesses to Monrovia. So you'll see some new businesses on Friday night from our neighbors in Altadena. Just another way that we're a welcoming place. Up and coming, I know you guys are really excited about this one, the Wine Walk, right? Right? The Wine Walk is coming up just a few weeks away. It always sells out, so make sure you get your tickets immediately. We currently have 25 stops. So make sure you take a part of our lift. You can get a ride, get a lift. Don't try to drive, please. Use the lift if you need to go somewhere after that. But we have 25 stops that you could stop and get a refreshing drink. You could buy your tickets at Eventbrite or pick them up at the community center.
I think Charlie's House
Oh, Charlie's
also
House.
has
Okay.
them in Old Town.
Okay, so Charlie's House and the community center or Eventbrite. And the library is always doing some fantastic things. Spring break is just around the corner, and the library is ready to fill the calendar and to just work with the kiddos. So join us March the 31st through April the 5th for activities for all ages. Monday is Maker Space for Kids at 3:30. Tuesday is Lego Building Party at 2 p.m. and Adult Craft Night at 6 p.m. Wednesday is Spring Break Craftastic at 12 p.m. Thursday, Tide Pool Show at 11 a.m., 12 p.m., or 11:15 p.m. And Teen Laser Tag at 5:30. You must be a teen. We don't want to see any adults out there. It's for teens only. And Friday is Pizza Cooking for Kids at 12 p.m. and Trivia Night for Adults at 5:30 p.m. That's all I have for now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelly and Mr. Spicer.
Yes, Madam Mayor. All right. I have a brief update from our amazing community services. The spring session of contract classes is the kickoff next week. There's still time for those of you who haven't registered. You can register and explore a wide range of exciting opportunities. Whether you're looking to learn a new dance style, or to perfect your tennis swing, or to pursue your fitness goals, there's something for everyone. For more details, you can check out the latest issue of the Monrovia Today.
I'm your Vanna
I
tonight.
started to bring my book and do that,
I'm just
but I
kidding,
knew
I
you
just-
would be on time, Becky. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, regarding trips and tours, adventures, you can earmark on a unique adventures. You can embark on unique adventures with our trips and tours group. On March the 20th, they will be visiting the stunning flower fields in Carlsbad. And you can enjoy some shopping and some of the fabulous outlets that they have there. Also, in April, you can experience the Boysenberry Festival at Knott's Berry Farm, followed by a visit later in the month to the Yamaba Casino. So that's something exciting. So we hope to see our community members participating in these enriching activities, and that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right, and yes, I was being Larry's Vanna there. The Monrovia Today and Activity Guide is out. Be sure to check out all the great things, including the Monrovia Days information on page 4 for all the details. And on the back side, our Spring Egg Hunt and Healthy Kids Day, that's on Saturday, April 12th from 10 to 1. Lots of great information in there. There's also a great event that's coming. It's not until May 3rd, but it's by our Monrovia Historical Society, and I believe our Changemakers are also involved in that, and it's regarding celebrating educator Anna H. Jones and medical pioneer Sophia B. Jones. Great event coming up, so just wanted to highlight that. I did want to mention at my last San Gabriel Valley Mosquito and Vector Control meeting, there was a presentation on the fire response, and I hadn't really stopped to think what the correlation with the mosquito and vector control with the fire response. But with the destruction of so many homes came the destruction of many pools. And they are just giant mosquito incubators. And it's very, very difficult because of whether or not the ash is going to be removed from those pools. But there's moisture in there, and those little 80s, they only need like a bottle cap of moisture to breed. So it's really, it's very dangerous, and they have to get, the district has to have permission from the homeowner to access that property. So there's a lot of going back and forth and trying to get access and to treat those pools, whether or not some of them might be just filled in, others may be kept. But at any rate, they are very dangerous in terms of breeding places for mosquitoes. We also, the district, and they're trying to find out, they will find out very soon, they're going to start putting a mosquito fish. And that's something that you don't have to be a part of the fire zone. If you have an area that needs maybe a pond or something like that, or a pool that you can't quite manage, the district will provide mosquito fish. But in the fire area, because there's ash in the pools, they're not quite sure if those mosquito fish will live in the water with the ash. So we will find out very, very soon. The district also waived for 1 year the assessment, which is $20 per parcel. It's right now about $150,000 hit to the district. That doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when that's the only income for that $20 per parcel for the district, that's a big impact. I also participated in Monrovia Reads read across. I unfortunately didn't. I volunteered many times, but I had an older group of kids this time. So I thought I was being very smart, and I picked out a book, which had also been made a movie, and it also had a sequel in terms of a book. So I thought I was going to take those. But with my first question, I asked the kids, how many of you have seen the movie? Everybody. How many of you have read the book? Okay, and then I had the little sequel book, and I wasn't planning on spending so much time with that, but I bought them to leave in the classroom. But boy, fifth graders are a hard group. And they were bored. And so I was trying to embellish as much as I could, but wasn't my best outing. But I loved the opportunity to be in the classroom, and I hope they enjoyed having some books you like to read over again, So hopefully they will, and they'll read the sequel. So at any rate, lots of fun, and Monrovia Reads does a lot of great things. So I did want to highlight on Sunday, the 23rd, the Monrovia Doherty Black Alumni Association in celebration of Women's History Month. They are having an event, and that is it's a presentation, Moving Forward Together, and it's at the Doherty Historical Society and Museum at 777 Encanto Parkway. And one of the one of the women they are highlighting is Brenda Trainer, who is sitting at the back of the room. So congratulations on that, Brenda. And then also had the opportunity, along with Tamla and Larry, to attend the house party that was put on by Chris Lose and others. It was really a great event. There were 9 Monrovians that were honored, or entities, and so it was really a very nice event. The weather was fantastic, great food, and they do hope to keep on growing that event. And it's for, would you say, Larry and Tamla, it's mostly for the alumni of the high school. Mm-hmm. And so at the end they say, okay, everybody from the 60s, from the 70s, from that. So it's really kind of neat, a neat get together. So with that, let me see if I had anything. Oh, I did have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. this last week. It was actually, I was there from Sunday to Wednesday. It's actually 2 things, D.C. and then Pennsylvania. The weather was great, but I can't say too much about the visit. It was with Foothill Transit, and we visited 7 different legislators, and unfortunately, whatever the question was, the answer was, I don't know. So funding on so many things is all very, very up in the air, but it was nice to be there and for them to see our faces. And we also traveled to Pennsylvania to a bus training center that was fascinating. I know that doesn't sound like your top 10, trips, but it was very, very interesting. And one of the tracks, and they test models of buses, and this is done through Penn State, a division of Penn State University. At any rate, to do this testing, they have to go on this track and make 15,000 trips around this track. And this one guy's been doing it for 31 years.
Isn't he busy?
I would think, I don't know, but it was very interesting, and talking about they showed the filters for diesels and how the one was just pure black. And then it went down, and as it's improved to the point that it was clear. But the point being is of their micro particles, and those microparticles then can get in places that are bad. So at any rate, in your lungs, yeah. So at any rate, it was very, very, very enlightening. And with the budget problems, they had received a grant or an earmark to purchase the fuel cell, hydrogen fuel cell buses, and we will take a hit on that as well as tariffs. So it's just the question, whatever the question is, I don't know yet. So I will keep you up to date as how things go.
Can you remind me who decides what they spend federal dollars on?
Who?
The who?
You're talking about at the federal government
At the
level?
federal level, there's like two branches, right?
Oh, he. At any rate, it was an interesting adventure. So it was nice to go and visit. With that, on that high note, I will move on then to our administrative reports, which we will begin with AR1, multi-year lease and operating agreement with Community Media of the Foothills for the period ending June 30th, 2028, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to turn this over to our city manager, Dylan Feek, for the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Shevlin. Accompanied with the presentation tonight is the staff report, which outlines what I'll be speaking about, also a draft of the contract with Community of the Foothills. I'll refer to this evening as CMF. It's just easier to paraphrase that way. A little bit of history. CMF was founded in 1984. One of the founding directors was actually City Manager James Starbird. He was a member for less than a year before he retired from the city of Monrovia. Our municipal code provides that the city will designate a nonprofit organization to serve as access management entity to provide public educational government access programming services and programming to the residents of the city. I think this is important because with government providing this type of service, creating a nonprofit entity which could determine content, could determine what's aired, how it's aired, it provided more independence from government. And I think was just important as far as implications for constitutional separation of government and activities like regulating speech over public access outlets. City of Monrovia leases a little over, just under 2,000 square feet of the Mary Wilcox Youth Center to CMF. We also lease a small space downstairs here in this building for the work they do recording our council meetings and performing work for the city. They also own and maintain and manage all of the equipment at the facilities. We have a very unique relationship with CMF. Not many cities provide a service like this. I think every city probably records public meetings. This is a fairly low-cost activity. But what makes our program and partnership unique is the open access television studio, where there's space, there's equipment, there's expertise, where people can come and learn how to do high-quality production of content, and really some of the unique programs that we have here in Monrovia have contributed to a whole variety of awards. As mentioned earlier, All-America City Award, but also as they attend annual awards of their own, including even recently, CMF tends to get recognized for the sick staff they have, the volunteers who work very hard, but even the just the limited budget that they do get compared to some of the other larger entities, I think they usually make out very well. The current contract was originally entered into for the period July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. There were options to renew, and we've since done lots of amendments as we've continued on and reworked a new contract. I think it's important to highlight that over the course of the contract, the city reviews financials submitted by CMF. There was a time where CMF was defending itself against multiple lawsuits. They incurred significant legal fees. They saw reductions in their reserves. Last year, during preparation of the agreement, we actually performed a financial audit. There were some current concerns raised by members of the public. We wanted to review and make sure there were no irregularities. We actually used the city's independent auditor to perform that work. We've approved a total of 6 amendments to the contract, and currently we actually have an expired contract, expired December 31st, 2024. And so we've been working very hard to bring a new draft in front of you. I do want to highlight the council liaisons to CMF are council members, Joe Menez, as well as Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly, and I appreciate their help and support. A couple bits of additional information that I think are really important to understand in context of this agreement before I get into what the agreement before you is. I want to talk a little bit about franchise fees and what are called PEG fees. A franchise fee is a fee that's paid by a cable operator. It is actually paid by other utilities as well, but in context of this discussion, cable operators to local governments for use of public rights-of-way. They're capped by state law at 5% of gross revenues, and cable operators pass this fee on to customers. It's a standard fee across the board for anyone providing that cable service. PEG fees are public educational and government channels. It's a 1% amount on top of the 5% franchise fee that is also collected by that state video franchise holder's gross revenue. It's shown as a separate line item on the bill. And there's a couple ways that some of these providers have tried to kind of skirt by this additional cost. So the law has basically set up pass-through PEG fees and subscriber PEG fees as a way to just keep every provider honest, and that they all have to pay 1% for PEG for their gross revenues. Over the last 5 years, you can see our data here. PEG fees have been reducing over time. This is really indicative of more long-term trends of people moving away from cable services. They're beginning to use streaming services. There are no PEG fees or franchise fees for streaming services. There may be some agreements in place for certain providers, but it's something that a lot of cities are advocating at the legislative level because we're losing significant revenue to do public education program, but also maintain public rights of way. What's important to note is these PEG fees, as they've been decreasing over time, the costs for the CMF contract have also been increasing over time, which has created just an imbalance, and we refer to it as a general fund subsidy. I should note one provider, Giggle Fiber, discontinued cable service offerings just a few years ago. They no longer provide the service to Monrovians. That has reduced our franchise fees by about $120,000 annually, as well as PEG fees. So speaking to the agreement, I want to highlight what the agreement is, what it does, and those key services that are provided. They are to operate the public educational and government access channels. There's several channels here in Monrovia, and that's an important component of the contract. They also operate the community access studio. This is something most cities will not have in their agreements with providers like this. We have asked CMF to provide training. The current contract actually spells out 4 training seminars per year. Because it's open access and they're able to work more directly with content producers as they come in, felt it was appropriate to do the 2 training seminars. I'll also point out that we're adding different events and activities in exchange for this. They provide playback telecasting, cable casting for programs on those PEG channels. They telecast city council, planning commission meetings. The current the contract before you actually clearly indicates that special meetings, study sessions are actually in addition. So we would pay an hourly rate if we call them in. What's been happening over the last several years is we'll ask CMF to cover a study session or an extra meeting, but we have not been providing them compensation, and they have to incur those staff costs to bring that body in. We also request a lot of coverage for our special events. Monrovia, we do a lot in this community. We have over 30 city-sponsored and hosted events each year. On occasions, we have specialized activities and events like elections. We'll have, ribbon cuttings. We'll do, one kind of special promotional opportunity. So we've spelled out in the contract all the different special events. The term of the contract is proposed January 1st, 2025, so it would apply retroactively. It would be through June 30th, 2028, with the option for 2 one-year extensions permitted. The CMF would cover regular city council and planning commission meetings. Any additional need we have would just be based on an hourly rate. So part of the contract, the total amount includes us putting in a little bit of money to cover some of these meetings. If let's say we're discussing inclusionary housing ordinance and we want to cover that meeting, we'll be able to call up CMF, ask them to come in and record it, and we'll just pay that on the hourly rate piece. We're also including $5,200 annually for what we call impromptu requests. So when we want to highlight the Route 66 mural, or want to do a special ribbon cutting, or maybe there's a council member request to have CMF at something that is not part of the contract, we want to make sure we've got sufficient funds to be able to provide that coverage, tell that story. These costs not only include them showing up to record the content, but also to actually produce a quality film that people can watch afterward. In the agreement, our requirement has always been that they perform a fiscal audit. An audit for a small nonprofit with few funding sources is irregular. Many of our other, even larger contracts do not have the annual audit requirement. We do, however, retain the right to inspect their financial records at any point. So we heard earlier from Pasadena Humane Society, we do not require Pasadena Humane to perform an annual audit, but we do retain the right to inspect their financials at any point. And so we're just trying to make this consistent. It will also save CMF several $1,000s a year, just because the level of work that goes into the fiscal report is different than a fiscal audit. I mentioned earlier training, compensation, one of the key details, and I'll share some slides more in a minute, but the current compensation, the city of Monrovia pays $190,000 annually. That amount has not changed for almost 4.5 years. CMF has requested an increase to that base contract amount. Originally, they've requested higher than the $210,000 that's proposed, but I'll go over a couple other key details on the base amount. Future years would include that base amount plus up to 3% of an inflation factor. That the inflation would be applicable in fiscal years 2027 and 2028. One of the items that council has previously discussed, this is as a result of the audit we performed last year. The city would provide a one-time grant up to $20,000 to retain counsel to help them rewrite their bylaws and ensure that they are compliant and consistent with California statutes for nonprofits to operate. We've been working very closely with the organization for more than 40 years, and it's very important that their bylaws reflect best practices. The same would be the case for certain policies and procedures. We want to make sure that they have updated financial policies, that they comply with those policies. We have spoken with an organization, a law firm that was recommended by our city attorney's office. We've received quotes to perform bylaws updates, which essentially take best practices here in the state and tell the board, adopt these for your bylaws. Certainly, local considerations can be made, but we want to make sure that they are compliant with California law. And the costs, as well as several policy updates, would not exceed $20,000. So I feel very confident that we can perform a lot of work with that amount. All of the work would be coordinated through my office, so we would authorize the work prior to paying any of those invoices. One additional financial related item, this goes back to CMF originally requesting more upfront funding for their base contract amount. They had cited the need for rising costs, cited need for equipment upgrades. One of the city's concerns over time has been with our PEG fees declining. The amount of revenue that we are providing to CMF for this contract has become a larger portion of their overall budget. That was something we began talking about many years ago. At one point, they had several other cities that they provided services for. And a key discussion point, as I was meeting with Councilmember Jimenez and Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly, was how do we kind of inspire and encourage them to seek other revenues that are non-city revenues. And the idea about a kind of a performance-based payment tied to getting additional revenues seemed to make sense. So this provision that's proposed is CMF would be eligible to receive up to a $10,000 amount if the following conditions are met. First, they would have to achieve 72% of their annual operating revenues would have to come, it actually says from non-city sources. It's actually backwards. 72% would be the city amount. The 28% would actually be the non-city sources. So I stated this incorrectly. Currently, 78% of their revenues come from city sources. And so what we're asking them to do is go out and fundraise, go get grants, go get contracts from other partners, charge, people using the facility, but you have to start almost, weaning off, so to speak, of a larger portion of your budget directly from the city of Monrovia. The city could assist in helping them secure additional funding. I personally have spoken with the cities of Arcadia, of Bradbury, of Duarte. We hope that we can help them succeed in achieving additional revenue. It also helps City of Monrovia. And we outlined that they would be eligible to receive this payment for these 3 main years of the contract if council is amenable to it. This is a chart that shows just the annual costs over time. We are seeing a long-term trend of cost increases here, just like we would see in any other agency. Beginning in 2019, when the contract was $160,000, we started increasing it over time. But then you can see we held it flat during the COVID pandemic. This was also at a time where we were reducing contract allotments for many of our other service providers. And then now we're seeing the potential for the contract to increase higher. I did look at what would have happened if the city had applied an inflation factor over the course of this contract. The city does not have an inflation factor in the contract. And so while we've held the revenue, the amount we've paid them consistent for 4.5 years, it also hasn't seen an inflation increase like many of our other contracts. What this chart shows is that the contract has been pretty steady with what inflation would have done to the contract amount if we had an inflation factor. So they're almost equal. And this is really where we tried to cap the annual amount at the $210,000, is it kept it right there in line with, had we granted them inflation increases, it would have been pretty consistent with those. Ongoing concerns that are something that we're going to be watching closely. PEG fees, I anticipate, will continue to decline over time. We also expect CMF costs to increase over time. The general fund is currently subsidizing the difference and would expect to continue subsidizing into the future. And I think even though there are benefits to CMF being an independent entity, there are a lot of decisions we can't control related to their operational costs. And that's just a part of the considerations we have to make as we move forward. The options that you have before you tonight are to approve a multi-year lease and operating agreement. This covers use of the building, covers reimbursements and all the expected goals and scope of work that we've outlined for a total amount not to exceed $785,000 plus CPI increases. It includes an annual contingency amount for $5,200 a year for a total contingency amount not to exceed $18,200 a year for additional event programming. Also, consideration for you is to request additional information, provide direction to staff before taking any action. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. One final plug for contact information, city manager update. But that is my report this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to have to leave the meeting. I got a message to have a family member who has medical issues
Oh, I'm so
at
sorry.
this time. So I apologize.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you.
prayers be with you
Okay.
and your family.
Thank you.
Any questions of staff? I did want, when you say the contingency amount, is that for that programming you were talking about that we would contract for, like on an hourly basis or something like that? It was something outside of our normal list of things.
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. I know that, and I didn't ask, but I know this isn't a public hearing or anything, and did we have any public comment for this? But I do see David out in the audience. Did you want to add anything to the conversation, sir? If you do, you need to come up. I thought you might want to give a little input.
Shame on me. Good evening, Madam Mayor Shevlin, City Council members, City Manager, and our wonderful community of Monrovia. My name is David Palomares, and on March 1st, marked my 6th anniversary as the Executive Director of Community Media of the Foothills. These past 6 years have been a journey of dedication and growth, as well as we all know, nonprofits can be challenging, but the rewards of serving our community have definitely been worthwhile. KGIM has been a cornerstone of Monrovia since 1984, dedicated to promoting artistry, freedom of speech, and civic engagement. Our small, dedicated staff and volunteer board of directors are truly committed to this community. Since 2022, KGIM, Community Media of the Foothills, or better known as KGIM, has achieved remarkable success. We've produced 22 finalist videos and proudly received 15 awards, including the prestigious All-American City Award, as Dylan mentioned. I believe that civic engagement is more important now more than ever. Our coverage in municipal meetings provides crucial transparency, accountability, and accessibility to local government. Local media is the cornerstone of democracy, with transparency as a vaccine against corruption. Our goal is to build trust, encourage citizen engagement, and strengthen and inform citizenry. We offer a unique opportunity for volunteers and viewers to participate in civics and in community engagement through community media. CMF continues to adapt and deliver on our service commitment to both municipal and community stakeholders. We are profoundly grateful for our strong relationship with the City of Monrovia and the stakeholders, our community stakeholders. And we look forward to continuing this partnership with your goodwill and the renewal of our contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If there are no questions or further comments, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the multi-year lease and operating agreement with Community Media of the Foothills for the period ending June 30th, 2028, in a total amount not to exceed $785,000 plus CPI increases, and an annual contingency amount of $5,200, for a total contingency in an amount not to exceed $18,200, for additional event programming, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents in a form approved by the city attorney.
I do have a question before I ask for a second. On the total amount of the contingency, the $18,200, does that also include that $10,000, what was that called?
Those amounts are built into the 785.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, great, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Belden,
Yes.
Spicer,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly,
Yes.
and Mayor Shevlin.
Yes, thank you very much. Great presentation, and thank you, David. Okay, moving on then to AR2, fiscal year 2024-25 budget update, resolution number 2025-10, and our own very Special Buffy Bullis, Administrative Services Director, is here to give us this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mayor Shevlin and members of the City Council. Thank you for your time this evening. It's my pleasure to present to you a 23-24 year-end summary and a 24-25 budget update. I did want to mention there's a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that we printed for you. I know the numbers can be small sometimes, so that's in front of you if you want to refer to that. Okay, so the purpose of tonight's update is to provide you with a high-level overview of the state of the economy. We want to provide you with a preliminary update for 23-24. Due to the data loss event last year, our audit was slightly delayed, but it's currently underway and it's nearly complete. So we have pre-audit numbers for the general fund that we'll share this evening. We'll also review the 24-25 budget adjustments for your consideration. There are two attachments in your agenda report packet. Attachment A has the operating budget adjustments, and then Attachment B has the CIP budget adjustments. And then lastly, we'll provide a brief CIP update for the 24-25 funded projects. Overall, the reason that we do these updates is really just to be proactive at managing the budget. As times are changing around us, we want to be able to adjust and get out ahead of things. And so we're always tracking the budget throughout the year, and this gives us the opportunity to adjust. And so this slide here includes a quick summary of the state of the economy and current budget drivers. Overall, we're seeing a slowdown in the economy, which has impacted our finances. Good news is that inflation is down. So February of this year, it's 2.8%, which is good news. It's lower than we've seen in recent years. As we've discussed in previous budget study sessions, the highs of previous years have affected our costs. So Council will probably recall in 21 and 22, we were seeing inflation of about 14 to 15%, which was really high. Most revenues at this time are stable, but statewide we're continuing to see a slowdown in consumer spending, especially with auto sales. Auto sales have been slowing due to the price of cars and the cost of financing right now. And now we're seeing changes happening at the federal level, so changes such as the talk of potential tariffs, federal funding freezes, federal employee layoffs, among others. These changes can impact household spending, employment, interest rates, lending, capital investments, and other areas. It's too early to know the direct impacts to the city at this time, but we're closely monitoring the situation. And on a positive note, in light of these economic events, Council has spent years building a strong financial foundation, which puts us in a good position. A few of the policies the last decade that have been approved is our CalPERS response plan. We've approved the financial resiliency plan principles. And then just recently, you'll probably recall that we did approve a new investment strategy. So all of these things kind of help to put us in a good position. In September, a conservative budget was developed. So expenditure budgets are fully loaded, and they include the full cost of salaries, benefits, and operational costs. And we've also incorporated inflation into those costs. And then revenue projections are conservative. And because of our approach and the decisions that we've made, we've positioned ourselves well, and it allows us to be flexible in a changing economy. And so as we've done in past years, we can quickly pivot if needed and freeze spending in non-essential areas. However, there's still a cause to pause, tighten our belts, and proceed with caution. And as always, staff will continue to monitor the budget closely throughout the remainder of the year. So next we'll take a quick review, or we'll do a quick review of the general fund for 23-24 based on pre-audit numbers. And as I mentioned, we're currently wrapping up our audit, but we wanted to update council on latest information. We've closed the books, so we have preliminary numbers. There is a chance they may change, but it's really highly unlikely at this time. Most revenues performed well, but overall revenues were slightly less than budget by $353,000. TOT, which is our hotel tax, that did really well. Property tax did well, but it did come in a little less than budget, which is likely due to delinquencies. And then expenditures were less than budget by $1.7 million, which is shown in Table C in your agenda report. which is good news. Savings were realized in both personnel and M&O costs. And then overall savings really have been mainly due to the diligent management of operating budgets and vacancy savings. The general fund is expected to close the year for 23-24, 1.3 million better than budget. The year-end deficit is estimated to be 7.69 million. And I did want to note that this does include the one-time purchase for 6 million of the 324 Myrtle building. So we'll take a look at this information on this next slide here. So this slide here shows revenue and expenditures based on revised budget and estimated actuals. And as you can see, the revised budget in the left-hand column is was projected to close the year at 9 million deficit. And this includes, again, the purchase of the building for 6 million. But based on pre-audit actuals shown in the middle column, we're looking at a deficit of only 7.6 million, which is a positive swing of 1.3 million shown in the right-hand column, which is good news to end the year. And as a quick overview, again, the general fund is expected to end in a better position than the budget. Most other funds are expected to end in a positive position, except for the Lighting and Landscape Fund, which we know has been running deficits, and the Emergency Event Fund and grant funds. But those are due to the timing of reimbursements. And once the audit is complete, staff will return to council to present the final audited numbers and the ACFR. So next we'll move on to a review of the 24-25 budget. This next slide here includes a list of our budget objectives that we included in our budget. So we've included conservative revenue and expenditure projections. We've tried to fund as many CIP projects as possible. We continue to pay down debt and set aside funding for long-term liabilities. We always aim to build up reserve levels to prepare for the future. And we're always seeking outside funding whenever possible to help fund special projects and programs. And then this slide here includes the total adjustments to revenues and expenditures by operating budget and CIP budget. So again, detailed line items with descriptions are included in your agenda packet. But in total, we are proposing to adjust revenues down by 4 million and expenditures down by 13 million in total. And then this slide includes a high level of the citywide budget, and it includes our CIP projects. We've included the current budget and the revised budget by fund type on this slide. And I did want to note that the revised budget includes our quarterly adjustments that are being proposed tonight. The majority of the decreases seen from the current budget to the revised budget are due to CIP projects that will be rolled to a future year. At the bottom on the right-hand side, you'll note that there's an excess of expenditures over revenues, and the difference is due to the planned use of reserves that have been set aside in a previous year. So first, let's take a look at the general fund. Most general fund revenues have been stable and are showing slight growth. We are proposing a net negative adjustment of $2,047. Overall, property tax and TOT remain strong. For property tax, we're keeping an eye on it as there may be a slight impact from the recent fires. The governor issued an executive order that allows late payments for certain zip codes without penalties. So we believe the impact to Monrovia will be insignificant, but we'll keep an eye on it, and then we'll update council at our next quarterly update in May. And then, as mentioned earlier, we are seeing a slowdown in sales tax receipts, so we're proposing a negative adjustment of a little over $476,000 to adjust the budget to our latest estimates. And as for expenditures, we're proposing a negative adjustment of a little over $50,000, which includes increases and decreases for professional fees, services, supplies, and savings from staff vacancies. And then, once again, attachment A in your packet includes a full list of the adjustments. And then this slide here includes a quick glance at our general fund revenue categories. I did want to make note of a few items on this slide. You can see here that we're adjusting down sales tax as we discussed. We also have a positive adjustment to other revenues for about $480,000, which includes an increase for workers' compensation reimbursements and several negative adjustments for the delay in the opening of Canyon Park, as well as a few other adjustments based on updated estimates. I did want to make note about the line at the bottom of this slide that includes an adjustment for GASB 87 and 96 accounting entries that we incorrectly included in the budget. This is a cleanup entry, and this reduction in revenue is offset by an equal amount of a reduction in expenditures that we'll see on the next slide. So the net impact from this cleanup is 0. And this slide includes a quick glance at our expenditure categories. You can see that there's a slight adjustment in most categories. Again, the last line here includes adjustments for our GASB budgets that we incorrectly included. This reduction in expenditure is offset by the same amount of reduction in revenues. The total overall reduction is about $650,000 in expenditures. And again, throughout the remainder of the year, we'll continue to track the budget and be diligent in our spending. And as part of these quarterly updates, we want to let you know where we're at. Given the proposed adjustments, 24-25 is expected to close with a deficit of $1.5 million. As part of these updates, we take this information. It helps to guide us when making decisions. We always try to hold the line and come in under budget. And as council will recall, the last few years, we have come in significantly under budget in the general fund. So we're aiming to do that again this year. I had mentioned earlier for 23-24, we're $1.3 million below budget. And the previous year, we were over $2 million below budget. So we're hoping that will happen again this year as well. But let's take a quick look on how we calculate this deficit here. So we started out when we approved the budget in September with a $1.4 million deficit. The proposed adjustments tonight are a reduction in revenues of $2,047, a reduction or an increase in expenditures of a little over $50,000. During the year, we did have adjustments of a little over $70,000, which takes us to an estimated deficit at the end of the year of $1.5 million. And adjustments to non-general fund accounts are also being proposed as part of this quarterly update. Several adjustments greater than $50,000 are included on this slide. The first is a decrease of $173,000 to Measure K revenues. Similar to the Bradley Burns 1% sales tax, revenues have been on a decline. I did want to make note regarding Measure K that council approved $16.1 million in Measure K projects in December. We have 7 projects that staff have been working on, so I just wanted to make mention of that at this time. And then the second adjustment is an increase of $75,000 that is being proposed in the Lighting and Landscape Fund to adjust the budget based on updated projections for landscape costs. And then in the Water Fund, an increase of $100,000 is in professional fees is being proposed for several large unforeseen repairs. And the Water Fund also includes a decrease of a little over $67,000 for vacancy savings. As I mentioned before, a correction for accounting adjustments is being proposed to remove incorrect budgets for GASB 87 and 96. So next we wanted to take or provide council with a high-level update on our CIP program. So the CIP program has been classified into 8 categories that are listed on this slide. On the next few slides, we wanted to provide council with the high-level status update of project work. Also, I wanted to note that as part of the upcoming 2-year budget that we're working on, we'll include a full comprehensive review of the CIP program and present that to City Council. A detailed listing of the CIP projects budgeted for 24-25 is attached as Exhibit 1 to your report, and it includes information for each project. So there's a column that is included on the exhibit, which shows the amount budgeted for 24-25, which is the red circled column on this slide. There's a lot of detailed information in your packet and on that exhibit, and I'll just be doing a high-level overview today, but let me know if you have any questions. Also, we have Alex Tachiki here, who can provide additional information on specific projects, should you have any questions. And as council's aware, the CIP plan is a budgeting and planning tool. We have currently 42 projects budgeted for 24-25. As part of this update, staff reviewed all CIP projects. We looked at project timelines and updated costs. And based on this review, staff is proposing a decrease of $3.8 million in CIP revenues and a decrease of $13.2 million in CIP expenditures. Most adjustments reduce unused budget from 24-25 for project work that has shifted to 25-26. And these amounts will be rolled over as part of the two-year budget. Again, a full comprehensive review of the CIP program will be included in the fiscal year 25-27 two-year budget for your review and approval. And this slide here includes recently completed projects and a few photos from some of those projects. I did want to call out the Monrovia Comprehensive Streets project, which was a large $6 million project that made improvements to our roadways, sidewalks, water and sewer systems, and our parking lots. So again, we have some photos of the finished work on this slide, and we're very, very happy with the results of this completed project. And then this slide includes CIP projects that staff will be continuing to work on and are expecting to complete by the end of the fiscal year. Two of the larger projects I wanted to call out here are the Wellfield Electrical Project. This project replaces and upgrades critical electrical systems at the Wellfield. The project has been in the works for a while, and we encountered some delays with the equipment needed for the project, but we're happy to announce that we expect completion by the end of the fiscal year, so it's wonderful news.
Yay.
Yeah. And the second project is our Canyon Park Repairs Project, and this one, as we know, is nearing completion. So we're happy to see this project completed and happy to be able to be reopening the park soon, so more to come on that one soon. And then in addition to the projects expected to be completed by the end of the fiscal year, there are 29 other projects in progress that are at various stages. And those include the Community Center Renovations Project, Mountain Avenue Traffic Signal and Safety Improvements Project, Peck Road Street Improvements, Satoru Sunichi Park, and then the SCADA System Reconstruction. And I did want to make note that most of these projects on this slide are funded with Measure K funding, so except for the SCADA System Reconstruction Project. And so next I wanted to do a quick review of our financial work plan items that we presented at the September budget approval. Item number 1 is to complete the rate studies for our assessment districts and return to council with options. So as you know, we held a study session in February to provide initial results of our study that we worked with NBS on. And we are planning to return to council in April with a second study session to further discuss and provide additional rate options. And then item number 2 is to review and analyze the Go Monrovia and Dial-A-Ride transit programs to make sure the programs are sustainable. And the City Council reviewed the programs and adjustments were implemented in February. Staff is also currently preparing an RFP to continue these programs beyond June 30th, which is when the contracts expire. And then item number 3 is to complete an external comprehensive user fee cost study to make sure fees are capturing the full cost of delivery. We haven't started work on this one yet. Our focus right now is on number 1, the assessment districts, and once we finish those, then we'll reshift focus. I did want to note, though, that as part of the annual budget process, we always adjust fees by a CPI, so we are trying to keep pace with costs of providing services. And item number 4 is to continue to seek additional grant and outside funding for CIP projects. This work plan item is currently underway and ongoing. We always look for outside funding, and staff is currently working with Evan Brooks Associates on multiple grant applications for recreation park improvements. We'll also be submitting community project funding requests through federal representatives. And item number 5 is to continue to seek reimbursement for Canyon Park repairs, and staff is currently working on this effort. And then item number 6 is to continue to provide quarterly budget updates to council throughout the year, and that's an ongoing item that we always work on. So in summary, the general fund is expected to close $1.3 million better than the revised budget for 23-24, and again, an update will be provided once the audit is complete. The budget adjustments proposed this evening better align the budget with staff's latest estimates. While there's some uncertainty with the economy, the city is in a good fiscal position. We have flexibility and can pivot, as we've done in past years, and freeze spending in non-essential areas if needed. And again, we'll continue to monitor the budget closely throughout the remainder of the year and return to council with another quarterly update in May. For next steps, we'll return to council to present the 23-24 audit and the ACFR. We'll do, again, a third quarter budget update in May or sooner if needed. And lastly, we're gearing up for the development of the two-year budget, and we'll return to council in May and June with budget study sessions and formal budget approval. And this concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Questions of Buffy? I did note, and you mentioned there about federal representatives, and I know that I mentioned it being back in DC, that most of the legislators have sent out notifications, and I'm assuming they notify you or Mr. Feek directly as to the eligibility or the opening up of it's for fiscal year 2026. But I understand that there really is nothing. And I'm trying to get a grip or understanding on any monies that have already been appropriated, but for one reason or another, they won't be coming through in 2025.
So in the past, the city's project funding request, we've been successful in getting 3 approved. So we've received $3 million for Canyon Park, about $850,000 for Recreation Park. I'm not concerned at this time about losing those funds. They've been appropriated in years past. They're also not in any way attributable, even conceivably, I think, by some of the targeted approaches that the presidential administration is using, like if it's associated with DEI type, this was repairing a damaged park and rec park improvements. We did, however, have about $1 million application for upgrading our dispatch center. That was on the fiscal year 2025 federal appropriation bill. It made it through the House, was stalled at the Senate, and we received word last week that project, basically no project funding requests from fiscal year 25 are being carried forward.
Correct.
So we are encouraged to submit again, but we got it 2 steps away from getting approved, and then it was kaput. So we'll continue working. I don't have a whole lot of confidence right now in submitting new project funding requests. We'll be focusing more of our energy on maybe state funding, and there's other types of grant awards out there. But from a federal perspective, I think everybody is going to be very cautious about spending too much
wait
time.
and see.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is it that you need from us this
I had a
evening?
couple questions.
I'm
if you don't
sorry.
mind, Madam Mayor. I know I should know this already, but I believe the SIP budget includes funding from general fund and other sources. It's kind of commingled. Is that right?
The CIP budget?
Yes.
It doesn't really include general funds, so it's all the other funds. Mainly, it's utilizing funding from the CIP fund. We also have special revenue funds, like our RMRA gas tax fund. So special revenue sources and our capital projects fund are mainly what fund the CIP budget.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just one more question. I think you may have mentioned it, but on, I think it's slide 12, there is a reduction in the special purpose funds, like a revision there, of about 5 million or so.
Yeah, so
What's that?
yeah, so that's mainly going to be the adjustments that we made for our CIP programs. So because special revenue usually is funding those types of costs, CIP costs, that would be related to the reduction in the CIP budget. That's why it's so large.
Thank you.
And really, the adjustments for CIP are due to timing. It's for projects that we weren't able to complete by this year, so they'll roll over. And then there was a little bit in there for updated costs as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, it says recommendation, pleasure of the city council. Is there anything specific that you're looking for?
I think that one has a resolution to go with it, actually.
Am I looking
AR3
at
is
the-
pleasure of the city
Oh,
council.
sorry. Flipped too many pages. I went too far.
I think it's to adopt is the motion, the resolution.
Okay, sorry about that. The recommendation is to select option 1 to authorize the recommended budget adjustments. Do we have a motion?
I'd move to adopt resolution number 25-10.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we please have a roll call vote?
My fingers were catching up. Council members Belden?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem
Yes.
Dr. Kelly and Mayor Shevlin.
Yes. Sorry about that. I flipped too many pages forward there. Okay, going back to our agenda, then we are at item A. This one is AR3. Further discussion on possible local campaign finance regulations within the existing state law regulatory structure. And this one, Mr. Steele will lead us in that discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. As you know, we've had previous discussions regarding the potential for creating local campaign finance limits in the city of Monrovia where none currently exist. I've given you kind of in a previous staff report a history of the discussions in the city and previous decisions that were made. After the last discussion, you asked us to go back and analyze some recent election cycles and give you an idea of what the range of campaign contributions have been, and we have done that. And, you know, putting it all into context of the First Amendment aspects of regulating political speech, we told you last time that the only constitutional justification for limiting campaign contributions is eliminating corruption or the appearance of corruption in local elections, while still creating a narrowly tailored regulation that allows candidates the ability to raise enough money to run a campaign. So within that kind of general context, we have currently under state law an extreme upper limit and a relative lower limit that are in effect as a result of state law. Kind of the default contribution limit in local elections under state law is $5,900 per contributor. Cities have the ability to opt out of that limit, to make it something lower, to make contributions unlimited. That's kind of just the sort of opt-in number at this point. And that's the limit that's in effect in the city right now, the upper limit, because we've taken no other action than $5,900 is the upper contribution limit. Effectively, when looking at this idea of reducing corruption or the appearance of corruption, then $500 is kind of the lower contribution limit, because under the Levine Act, if elected or appointed officials receive contributions of more than $500, then they are required to recuse themselves from decisions involving that contributor for the next 12 months. So that's kind of the level at which the legislature has settled on there being a potentially corrupting effect, and so that's a limit that is in effect in Monrovia. If the council believes it would be the right thing for the city, you could adopt limits kind of between those two numbers. We talked the last time about other types of provisions, other disclosure provisions, possibly timing of reports, those kinds of things that I outlined in the last staff report. I have to say, based on my experience, that those are not really particularly effective anymore, because reporting has gone online. Reports are a lot more available than they used to be. and it really turns into kind of a political gotcha game more than anything else to focus on additional reporting and lowered reporting thresholds and that kind of stuff. So we focused on the idea of a dollar contribution limit for the council's consideration, and that's pursuant to Government Code Section 83013, which permits a local agency to adopt an additional campaign finance restriction. And we looked at my colleague looked at the campaign reports from all candidates for city office over the last 5 election cycles. So that was essentially 2020 through 24. There were, I believe the number was 19 city council campaigns in that time. And in total, those candidates in those 5 cycles received a gross number of 673 campaign contributions, and those 673 campaign contributions were actually from only 384 people. So there are a fair number of folks who contribute to more than one campaign, which is to be expected in a city of this size. The average contribution was $431.51, but the median contribution was $200. The median is probably a more important number to look at because the average is simply taking the high and the low and dividing it by the number of contributions. And that full range of contributions extends from $1 to over $14,000 in one case. And the $14,000 was a candidate funding a part of their own campaign. So it's not really an outsider's contribution. It's just the personal expenditure of money. So what we found was that 94% of campaign contributions in that period were in the amount of $1,000 or less. 86% of them were $500 or less, and 67% were $250 or less. So in other words, only 6% of the number of contributions that were made in total over 5 election cycles were over $1,000. To me, that signifies that contributions in excess of $1,000 are outliers in city campaigns. And there was some discussion at the last council meeting on this subject of limits in the $1,000 or $900, I think, was another number that was mentioned. And I think the statistics bear out that really contributions above $1,000 are unusual and could be perceived as potentially having some corrupting influence. So if the council decides to impose a local contribution limit, again, keeping in mind that there is a high limit and a low level in effect already, it seems to us that $1,000 per contributor limit or in that neighborhood would likely be the limit that eliminates unusually large contributions and thus could be seen as eliminating those contributions that have the potential to have a corrupting influence. You also asked for a description of the limits in neighboring communities, and so we've given you a sample of those in the staff report. Some of our neighboring communities simply go with the state law default of $5,900. The lowest we found kind of in the region were in Burbank and West Covina, where they went down to $500, but I would note that both of those were in effect prior to the changes in the Levine Act. So $500 was higher than the Levine Act limit, and now those limits are essentially equal to the Levine Act. So those communities may consider changing that $500 limit. And of course, some, as you see on the list, have no campaign limits at all. Finally, there was a question regarding enforcement. I'd raised some concerns about enforcement. In the last year, the FPPC has started a program where they will contract for the enforcement of local campaign ordinances. The requirements of that program are fairly restrictive, and there's a contract that has to be entered into to pay the FPPC for those prosecutions of local campaign finance ordinances. But I did want to let the council know that it is it is possible to enter into that program through an agreement with the Fair Political Practices Commission. So at this point, we've given the council the information you asked for, and we're happy to take direction. If you decide to go down the road of creating a local limit, we would have to draft an ordinance and bring it back to you for approval. So we'd appreciate direction, especially, I think, direction as to kind of yes or no going down this road, and potentially a limit that you think would be appropriate to impose for the city. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Steele?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, so if it's $1,000 concerning the reporting aspect, if it's $1,000 or more, but if it's like 900 or anything under 1,000, can you speak a little bit on that again in terms of the reporting?
The current reporting threshold is $100. So every contribution above 100.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say the ability to vote on something, or that's what I meant to say.
500
Got it.
is the number. That you're required to recuse yourself from a decision involving a contributor of $500 or more in the past 12 months. And after the decision is made, you're then prevented from soliciting a contribution or accepting a contribution of more than $500 for a year afterwards. That's the limit.
Yeah, I think making sure that there's no corruption, that going down the road of definitely setting limits is something that I think would be best. But trying to get to that amount, yeah, just trying to figure out the amount. Off the top of my head, anywhere between 3 and 5 is what I'm thinking, but I would defer to my colleagues to see what 300 to 500 between that number, but keeps us below, and we want to make sure that we try to keep us integral as possible. So I just need to figure out the number.
I tried looking up real quick, but I know that Claremont has restrictions, and I want to say it's 250. But at any rate, Edward?
Well, I wanted to say thank you for all the research. I thought it was really helpful to have that
Very.
information in the report and to understand where everyone stands in the other communities. And definitely I agree with my colleagues that I think the ultimate goal here is just to making sure that we're reducing the appearance of corruption and making sure the elections are fair. And I see a lot of the communities here at somewhere between 500 to 1,000, the ones that have limited it. So that range seems reasonable to me. 1,000 seems reasonable. I think it's also just, we're reducing it like by 4/5 or so. So it is quite a reduction, maybe more actually, since it's now 5,900. My thought is what if we do set, if there's a way we can, because the state has this as a, I don't know if it's based on inflation or they have a way they're increasing it every few years. So if we can have something that either follows when they make those changes, somehow that we can build that into, I think would make sense, so we don't have to adjust it as we go forward. And I definitely would like to know what the, thank you for finding out that the FPCC can help enforcement. I don't know what that, maybe we should just understand those costs in the future too, would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, the difficulty I found on that issue is they'll tell you once they see your ordinance. And so it was sort of, it's a kind of two-step process.
Larry, any comments?
No, but when you look at it, at what Craig had just told us in between 2020 and 2024, he gave us all the numbers. So I think that's right within the range that I was looking at. So.
But you're looking for an exact number, correct?
Correct.
I would just throw it out there, $500. That's the limit at which, if it's over, then you have the problem with the disclosure. I'm saying 500 sounds reasonable.
I'd rather have my other colleague here too, to be able to.
Yeah,
put this
having yes, Sergio weigh in on this as well.
It'll have to come back to you in the form of an ordinance later on, so we could do that. Or you could wait to make a recommendation until, or give direction
Right.
until he comes back.
Larry, I agree with you. I think it'd be
Yeah.
better to have
Yeah.
Sergio here
Yeah,
as
me
well.
too. Because tonight, if we give you a number, that's the number that you're going to formulate the ordinance on,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Right.
Maybe we could just have that come back as a brief item for the next session. Hopefully, he's probably already looked over the reports as well.
Now, he's probably watching us on TV. I'm just kidding.
So, yeah.
Could I ask, I think Craig made a comment earlier about one, seeking your direction to proceed or not, and so it's clear that we're proceeding, drafting the ordinance. We'll bring, I'm sure Craig will bring back someone 500. Do you, if he brings back, let's say, a second option as part of a report, would you want to see a number lower or higher, do you think? Or do you think just 500?
Or
Oh, sorry.
500,000? Yeah.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll prepare the reports and we'll say it was discussed, and we'll bring back options that show a $500 option and then a $1,000 option. Share some of this information. That sound okay?
That sounds reasonable.
Yep, that's reasonable.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, that winds up our administrative reports. We don't have any further public input or items pulled from the consent calendar. Our next scheduled meeting, regular meeting is Tuesday, April 1st, no joke, at 7:30 in these chambers. And with that, at 10:08, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us.